ladies and gentlemen, and welcome back to Getting With the Program, talking about the final episode of Season 2 of RWBY, Breach. I am, of course, your ever-friendly Pokeprof, joined once again by Kross.
Sup?
And Ashen Sky.
Breach!
And it's a fight episode.
Well, of course it is, considering what we left off on.
True, but
Indeed.
I think that is actually pretty much the crux of the episode, is that it's a fight episode. We start off with just RWBY, Yang, Weiss, and Blake doing their fighting.
Actually, no, we don't start off there. We start off with Jean getting a phone call from RWBY, which he wakes up to, but the line goes dead. And then he starts having a bad feeling, which he relays to his teammates, until they finally hear the alarms go off, like, nah, no, we're not doing our regular mission, we're going to do this.
Mm-hmm. Well, yeah, but that's still, like, very small in comparison to, the actual crux of what everything happens, because we have them fight, then we have Jean and his gang drop in and fight in as well. We have freaking Sun and Neptune come in and go, hey, we're junior detective thingy-maboppers, and then kind of just do nothing for the rest of the episode. And surprisingly, we even had freaking Cinder, Mercury, and Emerald help out in fighting the Grimm as well. Which...
because they don't want to come off as, not being part of the whole thing.
Exactly. Though you would think that Cinder would not dress up as she did, simply because it's like, if RWBY sees you, Cinder, she knows exactly who you are, like point for point. So I kind of question her choice of clothing for the fight. I mean, I know it's kind of like her battle dress, but it's still like, why?
Considering they went to the trouble of donning school clothes the rest of the time.
Yeah. I mean, at least with Mercury and Emerald, it makes a little bit more sense for them to go into their fighting clothes, because the girls haven't been exposed to that. But RWBY has been exposed to Cinder's fighting outfit, so I just found out a little weird, so to speak. You have all of these characters fighting and all of them showing off their abilities, and then we also get Velvet's team, who I forget what their acronym is, guys.
Oh, Team Coffee.
Is it really Team Coffee?
Yeah. And the butt metal song that played was about caffeine.
Oh my god.
I think it's like CFFV is their initials, so that's why they're pronounced Team Coffee.
All right, that makes sense. Kofefe. But yeah, so we get to see them. We get to because before this point, all we have been exposed to is Velvet, and we never see her fight before this point. Actually, we never even see her fight in this either.
No, we did see all the other ones.
Apparently, she's got some special ability that the others don't want her to waste.
Yeah, so it's like it's like a conserving power thing. It's like, oh, I get stronger the longer I don't use it, but when I do use it, it goes kablooey. But her teammates include a frickin' Dark Knight from Final Fantasy XIV. I'm going to say that because that's exactly what his weapon is. Frickin' Kross from Final Fantasy VIII, with how it's like literally attached to his arms, and then a girl who's dressed up like a little like French doll almost, and then goes and whips out her frickin' mini bag that turns into Sasha from TF2. Literally, I fully expected her to yell out, "Doctor, give me the Uber drive or whatnot." It's been a long time since I played TF2, so I don't remember the exact term. But it's hilarious because it's literally, she's like smacking around Grimm with her bags, and then when she's like, Velvet's
it's one bag, it's actually a suitcase.
yeah, it's a little suitcase, and then she's like, Velvet, don't use your thing, let me take care of it. And then she literally just mounts up with this huge gun. It's like, it's literally bigger on the inside than it is on the outside. It's like she's using TARDIS technology to go and fire this thing just all over. It's like, and it's powerful too. It literally cuts some of the.
It's a freaking minigun. Of course, it's powerful.
Han, compared to all the other weapons and stuff we have seen in this series, I expected
actually minigun nothing. That was a full-on Gatling gun.
My point is that some of these characters' weapons that we've seen before should be able to slice apart some of the Grimm that we've seen, and they haven't. It's like
she weighs 150 kilograms and fires $200 custom-tooled cartridges at 10,000 rounds per minute. It costs $400,000 to fire this weapon for 12 seconds.
Thank you for that, Heavy. I also think that's the biggest sentence you've actually said on this show so far, in total, I think.
Lies and slander.
But I'm just saying, it's like, her gun is literally ripping up the freaking Grimm. Like, literally, we're seeing it slicing some of them in half, where we're seeing, like, just this streak of red. And everybody else, every other weapon is like, nah, we just smack them around and then they fall down dead. It's like even Jean, who finally gets to actually do something on his own and is able to take out an Ursa by himself. It's like he's slash, and then the Ursa just falls over dead without any marking on it. Which I can understand. They still have some of the limitations of the show. But it's like, then it's just that much more obvious when they have the freaking girl with Sasha just literally tearing through these folks. But we also got to see our little puppers literally headbutt one of the Grimm.
Yeah, I was going to mention that. Clearly, even without Oobleck's help, Swy has the ability to knock out freaking Grimm.
Mm-hmm. And then we see both the teachers. We see Oobleck and Mr. Mustache go and...
Professor Port.
Yeah, Professor Port. Literally basically do a twin fireball attack together that just murders things. Although I think out of all the characters we got to see in this fight and got to show off their abilities, the one that scared me the absolute most was Glinda Goodwitch, which, again, considering her namesake and where she is in the series so far, it makes sense she's powerful, right? It makes sense that she actually has the ability to do something. But then she legitimately picks up every single broken stone and piece that the Grimm broke through and fixes it with a wave of her, like, little slapping thing.
Crop.
Yeah. Well, I forget what the actual term for it was, hon.
It's a crop. It's a riding crop.
Yeah. Well, it's more than just a riding crop. She's using it to discipline.
That is her weapon. I'm trying to figure out where the gun fits in it.
She's the only character we haven't seen, like, with guns, because she seems to be very magical. I'm not sure if it's actual dust she's using to do what she's doing, or if that's just her semblance, and it's like some kind of like telekinesis that haven't been explained. Because that's honestly my biggest problem with RWBY so far, now that we've seen 2 seasons, is the fact that there's just so much not explained or not understood. I'm not sure if it's something that you just have to accept as the show goes on, or if it's something that only fans know through, like, research and through hearing what the creator said or what have you. But it's like, I feel like the characters are able to do half the stuff they're able to do simply because I do not know what the limitations and what the rules of this world are. And while I'm okay with that to an extent, it does also feel like cheating at times. Just a little bit. It's kind of like when like in the previous episode, when we had Fireball Swy just pop out of nowhere. Before this point, we had there was no relation between Dr. Oobleck and Swy, and yet they're able to pull off this really awesome combo move out of nowhere. It's like, I could understand that if the two actually had interaction and known each other before this episode. And they may have, for all I know, because we haven't seen more of the series. But it feels like there's just so many holes in the actual show that I'm not able to see that I would be able to see on a second watch through. I don't know. Maybe that's just me.
Eh.
But the actual episode itself ends with all the girls being exhausted because they finally capture Torchwick. He's officially like in jail now. They go and basically say, hey, we're going to go rest and sleep forever for a while. But then the episode goes and takes a bit of a dark turn because we have Ozpin, more or less, they're talking to like some councilmen. My immediately thought with how they're represented is Sealy from Evangelion, because it's like they're all in dark shadows and whatnot. You know, you don't know who they are. And they're basically saying, we're worried the fact that you can't keep, you know, your school safe. You can't keep this tournament we're wanting to have safe. And it's like, we can't televise it like we were wanting to. And so instead of having you be in control, we're handing over power to General Ironwood. And this is starting to make me think again, because I think I mentioned it before, the general does not always seem like a good guy, a good character. He
doesn't come off as a bad character, but he's clearly fucking frustrated with Ozpin.
Oh yeah. Well, I'm not willing to put him into the villain camp just yet.
He's very set in his ways, and he runs a more military style school, so he's very straight lace boots type of character who figures it's got to be one way or no way at all.
Yeah, it's got to be my way, guns blazing, or no way at all. It's like things will not get done and people will get hurt. And I do not want people to get hurt. It's like, so far I do feel like he's still a good character, but he's definitely in that, I almost want to say, anti-hero set for me so far. With just the way he's been represented, the fact that we still do not know where Torchwick got all of the equipment and stuff that is clearly from Ironwood's, you know, stock. It's like there's still too much that we don't know that doesn't make sense. That makes me go, okay, so I have my suspicions on you, Ironwood, right now. I do not trust you 100%. It's like if I were like within the school as of this moment, I would be keeping information away from him, making sure it went to Ozpin instead. I could be wrong. I could be 100% wrong. But that's the kind of vibe I'm getting with this character. Even though by the interaction he had with Torchwick in this episode, it's clear that the two are not allies. Or at least it didn't seem like that.
They work together, but they're not really friends. I mean, they are allies because they have worked together for the betterment of Vale.
I'm talking about Ironwood and Torchwick, not Ironwood.
Oh, sorry, I thought you were talking about Ozpin. No, they are definitely not friends or allies.
Yeah, that's why I'm saying that's my only thing so far that's keeping me from believing Ironwood is a villain or he's the villain behind what's currently going on. I still don't trust him, though. That's my thing. I do not trust him.
Well, who do you trust?
In terms of characters of the show right now, I trust the main cast. I trust Jean and his crew, especially Jean, because Jean is too stupid to do anything malevolent otherwise. He'll do stuff on accident because he's an idiot, but...
By accident.
Yeah. I love how that's what gets you to speak up, is to correct me in my grammar.
Sorry.
But in general, though, it's like when it comes to the teachers, Dr. Ublik, I trust him. As much of a windbag as he is, I trust Mr. Mustache.
Professor Court.
Yeah. Again, hon, character names until I'm exposed to them.
I know, I'm trying to help you remember them, though.
I trust Ozpin just because of the amount of interactions he's with the girls. The only character that's like of the main cast that I actually am still on the fence on whether or not to trust would actually be Glinda Goodwitch. I believe she's a good character, but I'm not sure where her loyalties lie in the end. Simply because she does have that scene. I believe it's in the episode before this, where she is talking with General Ironwood. So I'm just not sure exactly where. It's like if the chips go down, it's like if she would. I believe she would stick with Ozpin, but she probably would do something with Ironwood. I don't know what. It's just a feeling I've got.
It probably would involve a bedroom and a couple bottles of
Oh,
tequila.
come on.
I mean, ship them.
I mean, you're not wrong. I mean, I can get that vibe from them. To be entirely honest, I don't know why it reminds me of them. It might be because I mentioned Evangelion earlier, but it reminds me of frickin' Misato, I believe her name was. And
don't bring that subpar trash into this.
Well, I don't know. Like I said, in terms of characters, I do not trust the general. That's the end point I'm trying to make here.
Yeah.
Is like, I think I don't know why. For me, I think just something doesn't smell right about him.
Okay, then.
Other than the fact that all the control is now under the general in terms of protecting the people and protecting Vale. It's like the councilmen even go and say, hey, we're going to have to talk to you, Ozpin, about the way
you've been handling it.
Yeah, about the way you're handling things, like, and see if you even still have a position at Beacon. So basically, Ozpin might even get fired. But after all that, believe it or not, even after the frickin' actually, I'm jumping ahead here. After all that, we actually get to go back to Cinder and the rest of the villains, and we get the fact that they've basically tell the audience, oh yeah, a bunch of the White Fang have been captured, and they're not going to be trusting, Cinder and their group anymore. And then they say, it's like, they're not going to listen to us, and then we have someone who's like, they are going to listen to me. And then we see Adam, who
we have little to no backstory over.
We have a little bit of backstory over, because we do know two things about him. One, he used to work with Blake. And two, how we know he used to work with Blake is the simple fact that all of the main cast, all the girls, each had their own 3 to 4 minute little short to basically advertise RWBY when RWBY was initially coming out. So for RWBY itself, it's just showing off her fighting a bunch of Grimm. For Yang, it's her in that club that we actually saw in the series. For Weiss, it's her singing at a place and fighting this monster, which that's actually where she gets her scar on her eye. I was a little amazed when I actually saw that. It's like, okay, so that's where it was? I just thought it was a feature they just threw in on the character. But no, she actually gets it in that opening. But for Blake is actually probably the most in-depth of the girls, because it actually shows her and this character, Adam, who are going through, and I forget what was exactly, basically just trying to steal something for the White Fang. And that's where Blake eventually drew the line, saying, no, I'm not going to be part of this anymore, and left, and eventually went to go join Beacon. So the fact that this character essentially has not been around since the introductory specials for the girls, in and of itself is kind of interesting. It makes me curious, okay, so what the hell are we going to do with him? But the episode properly ends on that, but then it pulls a pulls a Marvel on us, and we have an after credit sequence in which the character that saved Yang in the last episode is talking with her, pulls her mask off, and it's very, very clear that's Yang's mama.
Also, to point out, there was a post-credit scene in season 1 that we missed too.
Oh, really? What was it? Mention it to me now, since it's...
Yeah, it's Torchwick and Cinder.
Oh, okay. So it's basically just them interacting with each other.
Mm-hmm.
I could have sworn we actually saw that.
I can't remember.
Oh, well. Yeah, it's been a while since we recorded that episode, so... Oh, well. We'll find out. Future Prof, point out if we're wrong, and just make fun of Sky if we are. Just go, nah, nah, nah.
Okay.
I gotta make fun of you just a little bit, Sky. But other than that, honestly, other than the fight scene, this was a little bit more of a quieter ending compared to the ending of Volume 1, I think. Volume 1's ending literally stopped at the end of the fight. Whereas this one, it had more resolution. It was like, it had, not so much resolution, it had more consequences than the original season did, I think. Mm-hmm. Characters were incarcerated. There were different things happening. It's like Cinder is still undercover. It's like we have all these things that are like moving the plot forward much more than season 1 did. It makes me curious on how things are going to go from this point onward. Also, we haven't seen Penny since the dance, and I want her back. I miss Penny.
She'll be back.
I know. Penny will return. And no. I'm sorry. It's like...
I'm her upgraded sister, Nickel.
Wow.
And that's Diamond Quarter.
Oh, wow. Wow. Oh, my goodness. To be entirely honest, though, I am actually kind of really interested in seeing how the series goes. I will say, overall, personal thoughts, I'll be entirely honest, I still don't see where the huge fandom came from with this show. I don't mean that as an insult. I don't mean that as, like, I'm not enjoying it. It's like, I am enjoying RWBY. It's like, I want to watch more of it. But for a show that has as many fans, that has gotten as big as it has, to where it's like no other like internet-made show has been able to be so popular that it crossed over with frickin' BlazBlue and Persona, or got into Smite, or it's like it's done all these things that you would never expect a show like this to ever do, but I don't see it actually hitting that point for me. I'm not sure it's because we're doing this as a review and I'm being a little bit more critical of it, or if it's just because, you know, I'm not... It's like we just haven't gotten to the really, really good parts yet. I don't know.
Well, I'll tell you what. Next season is going to seriously pick up the pace.
Well, that could help. It's like it could be just that these first 2 seasons have been set up for when the shit hits the fan, because we still know bad things are coming. You know, we have Cinder and Adam who still have plans within plans, and we don't know what exactly is going to happen just yet. So we'll just have to see, I guess. I'm curious.
Yep.
Go ahead.
I just said yep.
I was curious though. It's like, what are your guys' thoughts?
No, you pretty much covered it all.
Well, I don't mean about the episode. I mean, like, it's like I've said my thoughts on how I feel like the show is handled. It's like how I don't feel like I understand where the popularity has come from for this show just yet.
I like it because of the lot of the references that they have for building these characters upon, you know, the old storybook fairy tales and what have you. And the way they kind of take a new spin on the ideas behind the characters, and in some cases completely turn them on their heads, especially as the show goes further. I think it's a good show, especially for a web-based program instead of like something they broadcast mainstream on television or anything like that.
I can still take it or leave it.
That's just the it for your thoughts, Sky. Just take it or leave it.
There's nothing that's hooked me yet.
For me, it's like, it's not a matter of hooking. It's a matter of, it's a good show, but let me put it this way. The way I've heard people talk about this show, when I went into it, I was expecting like another Avatar: The Last Airbender, you know, or Gravity Falls or something like that. I was expecting a show that blew me back, made me go, hey, this is something interesting. This is something cool. Be excited. And this has been more of us like, yeah, we're pretty cool. We're not the best. We're not the worst. It's like, if you like what we have, cool. If not, all right, you can go on. It doesn't grab me like I was expecting it to,
Yeah, that's fair. For some people, I guess it had just more appeal.
I don't know. Maybe it's just because I'm used to a little bit more character and a little bit less flash, and that was what Montione was well known for, was his flash. It was for him just having the characters go off the wall. And maybe that's why it's not meshing with me as it might have meshed with others. I don't know. It's just a thought. And for all we know, Volume 3 could really pick things up. Because how many volumes are in this series now?
You talking about seasons?
Yeah.
I think 7.
So 7 in total? So, yeah, it's like we're only, the second season, second volume into this series. So
actually, we just finished 3.
We're in Volume 2, hon.
I could have sworn we just finished 3.
No, Volume 2. Trust
Okay.
me. I said Volume 2 every single time we've started this reviews.
Okay, sorry.
We're going into Volume 3 after this. But it's like, it could be just that kind of show where it's like, hey, once you get through this part of it, it takes off from there. Because I will tell you right now, it's like, for me, Adventure Time was like that. That first season and a half of Adventure Time bored me to tears. I could not stand it. I could not get into it. I had little interest, and it was like, I do not understand why people enjoy the show as they do. After that point, that's when the show started getting really good, really concise, and it's like, okay, now I understand why people enjoy it like they do. It still might not be for me, but I can understand it. So maybe that could be the same thing with RWBY. It's like, now that we're done,
It could be.
yeah, now that we're done with these 2 volumes, starting from the 3rd onward is maybe where it's be like everything clicks for me,
Well, the next volume is going to be the tournament, and a lot of great stuff happens in the tournament.
All right, I'm looking forward to it then. But other than that, anything else we got to cover, or anything else you can think of that you want to mention?
Nope.
How about you, Sky? Sky.
Sorry, I had to mute myself for something. I don't think so.
All right, just making sure. Well then, with all that said, we're going to go ahead and leave it off here. Also, nice breathe into the mic there, Sky.
Sorry.
Haven't had to say that in a couple of episodes. Goodness. But I think the next time y'all see this, we're going to getting back, or depending on how I upload these, we'll be getting back to My Hero Academia with Season 2 of that. But with all that said, we'll go ahead and leave you off. And until then, folks, stay frosty.
Take care, everybody.
Have a good one, all.